Here is a Lego wheel with a diameter of 62 millimeters. To find its circumference, we multiply the diameter by pi, which is 194, 190 fail. Now, let's have the wheel rotate around an identical wheel. It's covering the same distance, 195 millimeters. How many rotations will the wheel complete now? Okay, what just happened? This happens because you think that the distance a wheel travels is measured here, the wheel is the center of the wheel. That's the reference. Since the rack has twice the number of teeth, its length equals 2 times the circumference. So if we rotate the gear along the rack, the gear of course completes 2 rotations. Now here's a 100-tooth gear, so its circumference is again twice the circumference of our 50-tooth gear. But now if we rotate the small gear around the larger gear, the gear actually completes 3 rotations, 1 additional rotation. Now let's take a negative of that gear, a 100-tooth ring gear. This planetary gear system is compact because one gear sits inside the other. Its potency comes from torque multiplication. Let's see how it works. Observe the sun gear as it travels 1 full circle inside the ring gear. As it does, the ring gear completes 1 full rotation around its own center. We have seen already. Now, let's see what happens if we increase the number of gear teeth to 75. Thus, as the size of the internal gear increases, it completes an ever lower percentage of a single rotation, while the hole in the center only travels 1 full, ever-decreasing circle. This results in a speed reduction. While the hole in its center still does 1 full rotation, the greater our speed reduction. And the more we reduce the speed, so that means that we need the lowest possible tooth number difference to achieve the maximum torque increase. But as you can see in practice, that doesn't work. The gear doesn't fit into the ring. And that's because there's massive interference between the teeth. They start to dig into each other. Okay, so teeth are useless. Let's get rid of them. Then let's use gears with rounded teeth instead. As you can see, now we have 9 lobes on the outer ring and 8 on the internal gear. That means that we have a difference of only 1 tooth or lobe. This type of gear is also called a cycloid. So we have solved the problem of gear tooth difference. The center travels in a circle, so a standard shaft won't work. We need this instead, an eccentric shaft, similar to a crankshaft. The distance between the ring gear center and the cycloidal gear's circular path is constant. The eccentric shaft captures this motion. An 8.1 gear ratio. Speed is retaxing to and freeze affects my cycloidal standards. Gear ratios of 31 to 101 are common. The ratio equals the number of lobes on the cycloidal gear. Trying to achieve an 8.1 gear ratio with just 2 spur gears leads to this. If you use a gear train to try and reduce the diameter, you end up with 4 gears and 3 shafts, neither simple nor compact. This gearbox is used in some of the most capable robots out there. Let me tell you about my journey in 3D printing. I started 6 months ago with my Bamboo Lab H2. This is the printer that printed everything you see here. It's my first ever 3D printer and it's been the smoothest experience I've had in a decade. But that's not what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about is how I noticed 3D printing is changing me and I'm not sure what to think about some of those changes. For example, a few days ago, my wife said she wanted a toilet paper holder. And instead of buying one, I said, why don't I try 3D printing one? After I did that, I kind of became... So I started 3D printing everything. Honestly, I go too far. Last weekend, I 3D printed an entire wheel. I wanted this balancing stand to be solid and rigid, so I used expensive filament. By the time I finished on Friday and got the bearings on Saturday, I was at negative 18 euros. I pride myself on using social media only professionally. Recently, I got trapped by MakerWorld. Made for it. However, as you just cycloidal drive and see what happens, but just about maximal torque increases in minimal packages. To be a torque god, a system must not only increase torque but survive massive inputs. Cycloidal drives make conventional gears look like a joke. All the torque is usually transferred through just 1 or 2 teeth. This is why gears must be wide to handle significant torque. But even thick gears can still be easily destroyed by shock. The motors from your average EV would easily destroy the transmission of an equally powerful combustion vehicle, but they would Many cycloidal drives are operated by some very brutal electrical motors, and yet they complete thousands of trouble-free service hours. With all the lobes or rollers of the housing, if we have two cycloids, that's 16 points of constant rolling contact. Now, cycloidal drives aren't just more compact and stronger than traditional gearboxes, they're also more accurate. Traditional gears need a relatively lineup results in rotational play at the input and output shafts. And it gets worse the more gears. In a cycloidal drive, we have constant rolling contact. The result is that cycloidal drives typically have virtually zero backlash, which means that robots equipped with them are capable of repeatedly achieving incredible accuracy. Even a small 3D unit like this one, of course not. There's no such thing because high impressive achievements in one field is always paid for by a compromise in another. Cycloidal drives are torque gods, but they suck at high-speed operation, high RPM. Why? Because of balance. From the side, we can see there's an offset between the gears, creating a rocking couple. At low RPM, the forces are negligible, but as RPM increases, they become significant, leading to vibrations and exponentially increased transmission noise and wear. And there you have it. Cycloidal drives. Zero backlash make them perfect for robot arms and joints. No, they don't tolerate high-speed operation very well, but